friends, hits of the 60s and 70s. iRADIO 76, CKiW.
CKiW, iRADIO 76 proudly presents the 515 Show with your host, John Sarver. Who's at the 515 door today?
I'm telling you, we've been trying to get in touch with this gentleman for so long, and he's been so graceful to bend all around, try to fit us into his schedule. Let's give him a jingle right now. Coming up right now, we'll be talking to none other than John Paul Franks, who is the honcho of Heads Up Hustle. This is going to be fun. This is going to be the amazing part, because when you see these cars driving all the way around from racetrack to racetrack, it's something phenomenal. And to try to put this on, it takes either a whole lot of moxie or a whole lot of cocaine, and I'm not sure which. John Paul Franks, what does it take to put this on?
Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. But what really it takes, I guess, is just some friends talking about what we wanted to do, and no one was doing it, so we said, why not give it a shot? So I guess maybe we're dumb, but you know, we're gonna try and put an event on that's gonna have racers have just a fun, enjoyable weekend and just have time hanging out with other racers and doing car stuff.
You know, how is it that somebody just sits back and, you know, your friends are playing tiddlywinks and you go, you know, we should undertake this huge situation that very few people have ever tried to do, and it's going to cost money, time, and sweat. And you stand up and go, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah, I guess I did Sick Week back in 2022 with a friend of mine, and we had a blast, and we wanted to do more, but we couldn't get away for, you know, by the time we got there and everything. It was over a week, and we were gone for 11 days. We can't do that very often. So we're like, just sitting talking, like, we want to do this. But we also, like, whether we do a short weekend thing, or I've seen other ones do that, but we're like, there's none around here.
You know, that's so genius, because as folks know, it's all regional. You know, sometimes depending on how Hot Rod Magazine does their stuff, depending on what region, depending on what part of, obviously, the United States, you know, and then Sick Week gets, you know, if you got to go down to Florida, and that's okay if you got that kind of time off, like you just said, John Paul, but it's, you know, if you're a regular working stiff, you know, do you want to blow all your vacation? Well, your wife let you?
That's a good question. I mean, you don't always. I took 11 days to go to Sick Week, and I was very fortunate to have a great wife support me. But man, you can't always do that. Hopefully this new style of regional events will take off, and people will enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, how do you explain it to your wife? I mean, do you go, gee, honey, you know, it's going to be crazy. I'm going to be gone from you and the kids for about 11 days. Carry on. Bye now.
Yeah, that was pretty difficult for us, especially. I had our daughter who's 2.5 now. She was just over a year old, and when we scheduled it, she was fine. She wasn't talking. She was, you know, just a couple months old. But then when we did it, the whole time I was gone, she was asking where Daddy was. That was a bit hard.
Oh, so, okay. So now you took a look at everything that was going on at Sick Week, and then you said, okay, let's see. How can we improve this? How can we put a spin on this? I was going to say a Michigan spin, but you're from a little bit away from the Great Lakes state borders, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm from central Indiana, but I guess my dad grew up in northern Indiana, and I spent a lot of time in northern Indiana. And honestly, I've raced in Michigan a lot. Probably I've raced in Michigan more than anywhere else. I call Milan Dragway my home track away from home because I raced there on their Friday night heads up races. Every race they had last year on Friday night, on the first Friday of the month, I went up there and raced. They have a class called Motor City Muscle. That's one of the sponsors for our event. The class is, and I raced there all last year, and that's sort of my class. It's a naturally aspirated 9-inch tire, sort of muscle car class, and I got to know a lot of the guys up there, and it just seemed to work to have that Milan be, our main track.
Yeah, I mean, how did you go to get that to happen? I mean, it's like, while you were at the track, did you just talk to guys and go, I'm thinking about doing this weekend sick week kind of thing? And I guess sick week now is kind of just like an adjective or a verb now. It's a generic term for something like this. But, I mean, did people say, yeah, that's a great idea? Or did they say that'd be great if you could do it in just a weekend? I mean, how did that all evolve?
Well, it started because we were just, like I said, talking about it as friends, and then I was at one of the races last summer at Milan, and I was talking to the guy I just met, talking about cars, talking about drag and drives. He had done, I believe, Hot Rod Drag Week, and I did Sick Week, and we were just both talking about our cars because we were both drag and drive guys. And I said, hey, I've had this idea. What do you think about it? He's like, man, I'd love to do that. And actually, that guy is going to be coming to our race and racing next weekend.
Wow.
Or actually this weekend, sorry.
Yeah, really. Yeah, here it all comes. Yeah, we should tell people it is going to be this weekend. Now, questions that people keep asking me because they don't want to read. It's like, this begins at which track? Lapeer?
No, this begins at Milan Dragway Friday morning, the 14th. So this Friday at Milan Dragway it starts, and we'll do tech, and then hopefully have the track on around 10 a.m. and then start doing our qualifications.
All right. So for somebody that's listening to us in one of our 74 countries around the world who's never, ever heard of the Heads Up Hustle, explain to them, the fine friends that we have listening right now in Australia and Sweden, how does this all work?
Yeah, so Heads Up Hustle is a heads-up drag and drive race. So it's a 3-day event. We have 2 different tracks. We start at Milan. We go up to Lapeer on the next day, and then on the last day we come back to Milan. The way it works is day 1 and 2 are qualifying. So you can sort of think of it as Q1 and Q2, or however you want to think of it. There are 2 qualifying sessions, essentially. Each day, racers will get at least 2 or 3 chances minimum to go out and make a hit, and their best time from each day will be averaged together, and then we'll use that to set a elimination ladder that will go into eliminations on Sunday morning at Milan, and it will be a heads-up style race. So we've got all the classes racing heads up, except for open comp, which it's still heads up, but it's a bracket race for open comp. So those racers will racing, with a dial-in and a stagger start.
Wow. Okay, and of course, for those folks in Brazil who don't know, a situation like this, you have to take your hot rod and you have to drive it on city streets to get to the next drag strip, and then you have to take said car and come back to the original drag strip, which would be Milan, that you started with, obeying all traffic rules, making sure you don't get hit by Johnny Law. And I'm pretty well sure most of these cars, kind of like in Sick Week, they all have just enough to get street legal, don't they?
Correct. There's some, look at Tom Bailey's car. He's the fastest in America. He's got a 5-second in the quarter mile Pro Mod that he got registered with a license plate. I don't know if he did it as a home-built car or how he got it registered, but it's registered as like a 69 Camaro. It's got headlights and turn signals, brake lights, a trailer hitch, trailer wiring, and a horn. So he drives it on the street, and so that's the one extreme. The other extreme are, we've got Mustangs and pickup trucks. We have all sorts of classes, but we have cars that are very stock appearing, but with some light modifications, all the way to quite heavily modified cars that don't have the same engine, even style or make as what they were made with from the factory.
Now, for the folks again who don't know, how many modifications in the Heads Up Hustle can cars do from street to when they get on the strip?
So you're allowed to switch tires. You're allowed to basically do anything you need between driving and racing, as long as you maintain the same engine in the car for both parts of the event. There's a rule that's been around since David Freiberger started this all with Drag Week, where you have to have the same engine block for all portions of the event. So I guess I didn't want someone having a race motor and a street motor and swapping them back and forth. So that's not allowed. But you can, like, for my personal car, I swap tires, and we take a bunch of stuff out of the car and put it in a little trailer we pull behind to make it light. And then being a carbureted car, we change jetting in the carburetor, and we pull some timing out for when we're running down the street just to have a little safer on pump gas, being a high compression motor.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you get away with that? How do you put pump gas in your car? And I mean, do you detune it like crazy? Do you hope to God? How does that work?
Every car is a bit different. For my car, like I said, it's carbureted. We run on VP Racing Q16 oxygenated gas when we race. And then we have some valves we turn in the back. We have two fuel tanks. We have a little 2-gallon tank and a big 17-gallon tank. We turn some valves so we are not using the race gas, and we just use 93 octane pump gas. And it's basically, it's an educated guess for some people. Some people are actually tuners. Like some of the racers are professional tuners, and that's what they do. So their cars are very dialed in, and it's just about preparation, making sure you know what your car is going to do. And maybe you're a car who runs E85 ethanol. You need to map out where your stations are to be able to get that along the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I'm pretty well sure that these cars aren't ringing 30 to 40 miles per gallon on the freeway.
No. I get about 8 miles per gallon. I've heard the EFI guys definitely can get better fuel mileage. But, I mean, the best case scenario is probably 15 to 18 miles per gallon at best.
If you have any questions whatsoever for John Paul Franks, who is heading up the Heads Up Hustle this weekend, make sure just bring him on over here to hotline at CKiW76.com. One right off the bat, someone's asking you if you're bringing your daughter this time.
Unfortunately, no. I would love to, but she's 2.5, and we've got a 6-month-old as well, and logistically making all that happen is just, it's not worth it, we don't think, this time. But hopefully next year she'll be able to come out, and she'll be at the track watching me race later in the year as well. So just not for this event, probably.
So, John Paul, is everybody going to come to you? Are you going to have the racers meeting? Do you have a little place where, in case drivers have questions, you're easily found? Or is it read the rules, sucker, and we'll see you later?
Well, we hope people read the rules, but yes, we'll have our trailer and tent set up there. We'll be selling merchandise. We have some T-shirts to sell, and we also will be able to answer any questions. There's actually we're going to be having a WhatsApp group text message, essentially, where we'll be doing class calls. We'll be updating any changes, anything going on. We'll be updating through that, and there'll be a method for them racers to contact us during the event with any questions. I've hired some good people to help me. One is Rick Dodge. He does a lot of tech for big events like Donald Long's his Duck X production races. He does the World Series of Pro Mods. He does all sorts of cool races. He does Sick Week and Drag Week, all those. So I'm very blessed to have Rick on the team, and he's going to be doing all the tech and competition stuff for the race.
Wow. And how tight are you going to be teching these guys? Nobody gets away with shenanigans, right?
No, the big thing is safety, man. We don't want to have anything that, things can go wrong when you're racing, right? We just want to follow what the NHRA says is safe. So we're just checking everything to NHRA standards as long as an NHRA member track. So if someone doesn't have what's required to run as fast as they want to, we'll just have to slow them down to make sure they meet the safety regulations.
We were going to say that. Where is your rule book? I mean, do you make your own? Do you just say refer to the NHRA? I mean, how does that work out?
So we do have our own rule book, which is has general rules and class rules that can be found at our website, headsuphustle.com. Click on the rules tab, and there's a full PDF downloadable there for all the rules for the event. But when it comes to safety rules, we defer to the NHRA. We do have a quick, a cheat sheet, if you will, which summarizes the giant, tome that is the Hot Rod Association's rule book. we have like a 4-page sheet, if you will, cheat sheet that Rick made up for racers who just want to understand, hey, what do I need if I'm a 13-second car, etc.
I mean, some of these, did you take a look at these, John Paul, and say, you know what, I don't really like this one. This one's out. But you know what? I think we could really modify this rule. I mean, to make this event your own event. Or did you just go, yeah, let's just go by the book and see what it goes for the first year?
Yeah, for safety rules, we decided we have to go by the book. But when it comes to class rules, like what can be in each class, we just made up our own. We talked to people and said, hey, what do you guys think? And some of our classes are very similar to other drag and drives, such as, whether you're talking about Sick Week or Hot Rod Drag Week or Rocky Mountain Race Week or any of the other great drag and drives out there. We've got our own rule set that's different, but then again, we pull from a lot of the similar classes that are already out there. We don't want someone to have to remake their car just to fit in one of the classes we have. We want to try to have classes that fit as many cars as possible.
How many classes are you running this year? I mean, this weekend.
We do have 12 classes.
12?
However, I'm guessing that there's going to be a handful of those that don't have any cars in them. We're not catering towards the 5-6 second big tire cars that are running that fast. So we're probably not going to get any big tire or unlimited cars. With the classes that are really popular are stick shift, small tire, our daily driver class, our full-size truck class, and then we have open comp class as well that's really popular. We do have a motorcycle class as well, and a class for big block and small block naturally aspirated cars.
Did you say full-size truck?
I did.
Are we talking like Rams and F-150s?
Exactly. I as a farmer, I see a lot of people who have quick trucks out there, and they try to go race, and they're like, well, even if it's a truck class, I'm going to get beaten by an S10 or a Ford Ranger or something, and they want to be able to have a place to compete with full-size trucks. So I said, well, let's give it a shot. We'll put a full-size truck class on. I believe we have 6 cars registered for full-size truck currently. So I say 6 cars or 6 trucks. So there's a couple F-150s, there's a Ram 1500, and there's an old K5 Blazer in there.
Really? A K5, oh great, with a 350 in it? That's awesome.
No, I think it's a twin-turbo LS, and it does wheelies.
Oh, we may have a new popular favorite one here. Okay. All right. So now if you have all those classes, I mean, for folks who are, and there was a question that came through earlier this morning, but to paraphrase, folks are wondering if registration was closed by now.
No, we still have plenty of room available. Being our first year, we don't probably have the turnout we were maybe expecting, but we're going to make it a fun race no matter what. So there's plenty of room for racers who just want to show up on Friday morning and get registered. We'll be able to accommodate that.
So what Mr. Franks is saying is there is no room for you, but if, you are cool enough, he'll let you squeeze in this one time,
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, we'll have to get a coulometer out and figure out, if it's cool enough or maybe not. So
yeah, you got to go up to the committee. But if you're the 12th guy to get in,
cool wall like you did in the old Top Gear show with Jeremy Clarkson, get the cool wall out and see if it's uncool or like Sub-Zero.
See, so there's still time. So you can squeeze yourself in there, and your car better be cool. All right. So you go from the slowest class you have, or should we say the entry-level class you have, is some kind of a street kind of class?
So we really have sort of 2 entry classes, if you will. Open comp, I would say, is probably the most entry class because you could bring a Honda Civic. And if you are consistent and can cut a good reaction time, you could win open comp being a bracket class with a Honda Civic that's completely unmodified. However, you could also have open comp could have a big block, a 600 cubic inch big block that's, on big slick tires and have a wheelie bar. And it could also run an open comp. So, it's open comp's all about consistency and knowing your car and cutting a good light. That's what open comp's all about. So it is a beginner class, but also you don't have to have the fastest car to be a winner there, but you do have to know your car. The daily driver class is the other sort of beginner class, if you will. Although you could be in any class as a beginner. There's nothing that says you could be unlimited and be your first drag and drive. It doesn't matter. But daily driver is a class where it's the tightest regulated class. We have to have heat and air conditioning in those cars if they came with heat and air from the factory. They've got to have a full interior, and they've got to have a 17-inch or larger rim if they came with that size rim from the factory, just to try to keep the race cars out of the class and really have some actual daily drivers in the class.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, as a question comes up right off of Hotline for Mr. Franks for the Heads Up Hustle that's going to be happening this weekend at Milan Lapeer. Milan? Sounds like a law firm. All right, I'll paraphrase. Wouldn't the daily driver cars have more of an advantage than the full-out race cars where things would have a tendency to not happen? So, in other words, you're saying that their cars probably wouldn't have a chance of braking on the freeway as the full-out race cars.
Correct. Yeah, the daily driver class, there's definitely a chance you're going to have a car that's more reliable.
Yeah.
However, I know some guys that have full-out race cars that are completely modified in every aspect, but they test and they develop their engine packages, and they're just as reliable as for on drag and drive as some of the more street focused cars. It's all about preparation and knowing your ride, but the daily driver cars might have an advantage of actually finishing the week. But then again, most of these daily drivers aren't stock. I mean, we've got Aaron Roberts bringing his Mustang. It's got a pretty big Pro Charger on it, so it's making a good bit of power. And there's a bunch of other daily driver cars that still have heat and air and full interior, but they've got more power than stock, sometimes double.
Okay, because I think what people were thinking when they heard daily drivers is like, Mom, can I borrow the Gremlin? Okay. It's not necessarily that, folks. These cars do have a little bit of a race heritage to it, although your car doesn't have to have it.
Yeah, the class for that would be go to Open Comp. You can run in there, and if you can be consistent, like I saw a guy with a old police car, and he put flicks on the back of it. It still had the little light in the A-pillar and everything, and he was consistent. He had cut really good reaction times, and he won an Open Comp race a while back at a race I was watching. So, anything's possible if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and so for people who know, I would assume for Open Comp rules are you have to have a helmet?
Yes, we're going to require a helmet for all racers, and then everything after that is going to be what required by the NHRA. However, we're really, really fortunate that Milan Dragway has a speed shop on the property, Dirty Harry's, and they have helmet rentals, so they can rent helmets out for the weekend if you don't have one.
Awesome. So bring your minivan, go to Dirty Harry's, get the coolest red metal flake helmet, full face helmet you can. Take a lot of pictures of you on the drag strip so you can take it back to the office on Monday, and there you go. What stories you will have. You got to come to the Heads Up Hustle. All right, so how many cars do they have right now, basically, do you know, on a Monday afternoon?
We have 37 cars that have paid
to
come out to the race. So I'm sure there's a few of those there's a couple that have emailed me and said, hey, I got in a wreck or my car broke down. There's a couple that aren't going to make it, but I've also got quite a few emails from people that are planning on coming who haven't registered, and I'm assuming they're planning on registering on the day of because they're asking real questions and if they can bring this or that, and they haven't gone to the website and registered, but we can accommodate that, and they can register in person at the race as well. We're hoping we have 60 cars, but we'll take whatever we get, and we'll have a fun time.
60 cars, yeah, for your first time out of the chute, that'd be huge. I mean, really.
That would be very nice if we could get some 60 cars out there, but the main thing is we want to make sure that there's racers that can race. we'd hate to have one car in a class and be like, well, you're racing yourself.
You
Good luck.
win.
I mean, if you made it to the finals the second you get back to the track on Sunday. Well, you're here. You're in the finals, and there's no one there. You have a first-round bye in the finals. So, I mean, we'd rather that not happen, so we're hoping we get enough cars to make some actual competitive racing. But if that does happen, we do have all the trophies. We have a winner and runner-up trophy for every class.
All right, so now what we should be saying is which classes are we kind of light on so far, so the people that are hearing your voice right now, Joe, it's that, it's like, oh, wait, I got one of those cars. This sounds like fun. I'll go.
Well, we don't have any cars in unlimited, big tire, or no time. We had a no time class, but I guess the no time guys really didn't want to drive their cars in the street, and I don't blame them. They're mostly all out race cars.
Yeah.
So the classes that we could stand to get more cars in are all the classes, but especially motorcycle. We could take quite a few motorcycles in the motorcycle class. That'd be a really fun trip because the weather's supposed to be good with a 50% chance of rain for a few hours in the day on Saturday, but Friday and Sunday are supposed to be great weather according to the long-term forecast. And I just would think it'd be great to see some Harleys and some sport bikes show up and race in the motorcycle class. Also, we could use more naturally aspirated cars or stick shift cars or small tire cars or full-size trucks. Really, whatever people have and want to race, we can accommodate them and hopefully give them a fun place to come out and have a fun time and compete with other people that drive their cars down the road. It's a bit crazy to take some of these cars down the road and just say, hey, I don't have a trailer, I don't really have anything but me and my car, we're hitting the road. But it's an adventure, and once you do it, you can't not do it again. You get addicted pretty quickly, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it.
All right, so now for folks who don't know, and this is what it is, no matter where you live in the continental United States and or Canada, you have to drive your car, make it street legal, and I'm doing the bunny quotes right now, and you have to drive it to Milan Dragway. All right, so that would be on Friday. Okay, so John Paul, so they drove their car up from Bloomington, Indiana. They made it all the way to Milan Dragway. It's Friday. They get their papers stamped. What do they do now? Now they make a couple of passes? How does that work?
Yes, so they don't have to drive their car to the race. We're more than happy to let people bring their cars on trailers. I believe we have some people coming from multiple states away, so we're not requiring them to bring the cars to the track on the road. Now, that's extra cool points if you do.
Yeah, no kidding.
But, I tried to get Richard Guido to come. I don't know if many people know who he is, but he's a stick-shift racer. He has a mid-60s Pontiac GTO that runs mid-8 and stick-shifted, and he drove from the middle of Canada through the ice and rain with snow tires all the way to Florida for Sick Week, won the stick shift class 2 years in a row, and then drove it all the way back to Canada. So he's sort of the Chuck Norris of drag and drives, if you will. But no, you don't have to be as cool as Richard Guido to come race at Heads Up Hustle, although we think it's really cool when people do drive their street cars to the race. To answer your question, your question, we do, when you get there Friday, we're actually starting pretty early, so we encourage you, if you're coming from a distance, come Thursday night. You can either get into the track and camp overnight at the track Thursday night or stay at a hotel and then just get in first thing Friday morning. But Friday morning, we'll have registration starting at 8 o'clock, and then at 10 o'clock, we'll go hot for people to make their qualifying passes. Once they get a pass they're happy with, pack up their car and drive to Lapeer.
That same day.
That's the first day.
Okay,
yep.
So you make a couple of passes. How many passes can they do till they're happy?
I mean, theoretically, they can do as many as they want until we close the staging lanes.
Gotcha.
As long as they're not. So we're going to do 2 class calls. Each class is going to get called twice.
Okay.
And after the class calls, then we're going to have an all-run session until the track closes for the day. Now, if it's been half an hour and no cars are coming up and everyone's left, we're not going to keep the track open. But if there's cars that, let's say there's a car that got in late and had a problem and broke down and they're they're wrenching on the car trying to get it together, we'll definitely keep the track open till 3 o'clock for those guys.
All right. So now it's Friday afternoon. I like my trip. My trip down the. Let's see. We're not doing. You're doing 8th mile, right?
This is quarter mile. We do have the no time class is an 8th mile class, but everything else is quarter mile.
And see, that's the reason why you're on here, John Paul. 1320 spoken here. Anyways, all right. So now I have my time slip. I like it. It's Friday afternoon. Now I got to hop on. Is there a designated route that these cars have to go, they have to follow, or any way that you can get to Lapeer?
You can go any way you want to Lapeer. However, I did, actually this last Saturday, I spent the whole day and I mapped out a suggested route, if you will, that avoids interstates for the most part, and it takes some nicer, more scenic, slower roads. There's more stop signs, yes, but also you don't have to be on the highway where if you have an issue, you're pulling off and there's cars flying by you and it's dangerous. Also, we wanted to avoid some traffic and keep people off the gravel roads in Michigan. Not that gravel roads are bad, but most of these race cars, there's a lot more gravel roads in Michigan actually than there are here in Indiana. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't just say, hey, go this way, and then I'm sending this beautiful, 72 El Camino with like a paint job that's immaculate down a gravel road. I would feel bad doing that. So anyway, I actually drove all the route on Saturday, and not only do I drive the route, but we have a scavenger hunt on the route. So I kept a list of sort of cool things that I saw along the way, and each thing, the more difficult it is, the more points you'll get for it. So racers who feel inclined to do the scavenger hunt will get points, and there'll be a winner of the scavenger hunt for if they can find the correct items along the way. All
right, now if people want to come out and bring out their folding chairs and watch these cars go down the secondary streets, is it a secret path where these cars got to go, or
no?
So where are you taking them from Island? Because man, that's if you're doing back roads from Island to Lapeer, that's a little bit of a toot.
Yeah, it can be. We're stopping at 2 checkpoints on the way there, and then 2 checkpoints on the way back on Saturday. All the route information is all mapped at headsuphustle.com/routes, and you can look at the maps with the routes, and you can see where the checkpoints are. And it's not mandatory that you follow those routes. That's just a route that I personally drove, and I think is one of the, maybe not the best way, but it's the best way I could find to go. There's at least no construction. At least there wasn't any construction Saturday when I drove those routes.
Lucky you.
So things might have changed by the time our race comes along. Hopefully not. But the route is quite simple. But then again, you have to be careful because you can't just follow the route blindly. I mean, you might be like, oh, it says turn right here, and you just drive into a lake. I mean, you can't, you can't just be a blind person who follows the GPS. But hopefully it's a route, in all seriousness, actually, that avoids some major construction and congestion. And also, one route, I was going down a road, and it was extremely bumpy in my pickup truck, and I said, I don't feel like sending races on this. So I turned around and went back and found a different way. So we're hopefully the route will be something that people like, but some other cars might want to just put the GPS on and jump on the interstate and go the fastest way, which is totally fine. As long as they go to the checkpoints and take pictures of their car along the way to prove that they drove the route, it's whatever way they want to do it.
A question coming in for John Paul Franks here of Heads Up Hustle from the CKiW iRADIO 76 hotline. Paraphrasingly, they're saying, is there any chance that any of these cars will be routed down Woodward Avenue?
Yes. So on the way back on Saturday, we do plan on running Woodward Avenue. I believe we're going to go from Pontiac through, 12 Mile Road, I believe?
Yeah.
So we'll have a couple miles there on Woodward Avenue.
Wow. Okay, because that's what we're trying to figure out. Folks who want to see this, there's a natural curiosity to see some of these hot rods and wave them on, cheer them on a little bit, because really, especially being your inaugural, you'll always remember this one. So if folks love, and if you know anything about Woodward and folks in Detroit, etc., that not only are they car crazy, but they love their little part of Woodward where they sit on the grass and watch things happen, like at the Dream Cruise and things. So they'd be more than thrilled to see some of these hot rods come on down.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll be a good race and then a good trip down. The Woodward Avenue portion is, again, like I said, all the routes are not mandatory. They can choose to go the shortest, fastest way, but hopefully people will want to go drive Woodward and have that as part of their route, because I enjoy just driving it in my pickup truck. I'm like, oh, this is where Road Cool Nights is, and this is, you see the rubber down the road, and, it's cool.
Yeah, you do. Okay, so Saturday, you're up at Lapeer, and the same situation happens, right? You wake up, hop in your car, make a couple of passes until you think, yep, we're good, and then take off from Lapeer and go down the magic route, down Woodward, et cetera, back to Milan, and you should be there at Milan by Saturday night, right? And then Sunday the sun comes up, and then it's showtime for real at Milan. Did I get that kind of right? Okay. All right, so Sunday, I should say, competition begins when?
So Sunday morning, we're going to give every racer a test pass that morning to make sure everything's good when they switched everything over from street to racing, or just to make sure they're happy with how their car's performing and what tune-up they might have in it if they're a car that's, they're trying to make changes on. So when the track opens, I believe the track opens, I have to check my schedule. I don't know off the top of my head, unfortunately, but I believe we open at 9 o'clock on the morning of Sunday. Let's check here. Schedule. Yes, so we're going to, test session's going to go live at 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and every car is going to get a chance to make one pass. And then once that is over, we'll give the cars time to go back, put fuel in their cars, whatever they need to do before we call cars to the lanes for eliminations. So at that point, then you got to beat the guy next to you if you want to stay in the race.
All right, so that's what I think folks are asking. I'll just take this one that's just coming off the email. What time should folks be at? Okay. What time should people be at Milan on Sunday to see the action happen? I think you just answered that.
I would say get there by 10 o'clock to watch the test passes. But if you want to just watch the eliminations are going to start around 11:30, 11:45.
And at Lapeer, they have a big question mark. What time should they be there then?
At Lapeer, the track goes hot at 10 o'clock, so they want to watch all the action. Basically, the track's going to go hot at 10 o'clock every day, all 3 days. So if you want to watch all the passes, I would recommend you get to the track by 10 o'clock in the morning.
Another question here from the hotline at CKiW76.com for John Paul Franks. It is, this is interesting. Is there a wristband for all 3 days?
Yes, there is. So if you go on the website, you can purchase a spectator wristband for all 3 days, or you can purchase a combo pack that gets you the spectator wristband, it gets you pit parking, and it also gets you a free T-shirt. So you can do it either way, and when you purchase either one of the all 3 day packages, you're going to get the printed out route sheet the racers will get, so you can follow the route with the racers if that's what you want to do.
Well, God, tell me how many people wouldn't want to do this. All right, so if you got that for every 10, you got 36 cars. There's a question mark here. Will there be buybacks?
I do not believe they're going to be buybacks.
No.
If there's time and people want to race after, let's say we get all the cars through and there's still time and the track's there, and people want to line up some grudge races or something after the event's over and we still have time on the track rental for the day, we'll be happy to have some grudge races or something like that happen. But we got to get the eliminations done first, and I don't think we're going to do any buybacks. Yeah,
I mean, to me that'd be that's kind of silly in a what you're trying to do. All right, so sponsors, we should probably talk about that. I mean, I realize this is like a big chunk coming out of your pocket. Well, I mean, this isn't for folks who think that like General Motors is sponsoring Mr. Franks here. You're sadly mistaken. You know, this guy is told his wife, I think we're going to eat ramen noodles for a long time here, honey, because we're putting this race on. All right. But, I mean, you got to have some kind of sponsor somewhere, don't you?
We do. We're not actually taking this year, it's being a new race and a small race. I basically reached out to the friends that I have in the drag racing industry and said, hey, do you want to be part of what we got going on? So instead of having them pay me a bunch of money, what we're doing is they're involved at a level where we're partners. They're going to get publicity and the ability to have their products in front of racers, and then I'm going to get some of the people that follow them and their brands to get more information about my race. So the primary sponsors are AFCO Racing Products, so AFCO suspension, and they also have great radiators and cooling solutions. And we've got GT Performance turbochargers. They specialize in custom turbochargers for diesel application, but they also do make gasoline custom turbochargers. And then we have Motor City Muscle Challenge, which is the naturally aspirated 9-inch racing series that is put on at Milan on the first Friday of every month. Those are the primary sponsors for the race, and they're hopefully we're just trying to get more information from our racers so they can find out more about these products, as well as maybe people who follow those channels or people to learn more about our race. So hopefully it'll be mutually beneficial all the way around.
You know, John Paul, how easy has this been for you?
It's been a bit difficult, but not in a bad way. I've had experience running some larger events, not drag racing events, but some other events that have been fairly large. And you know, you can't get overwhelmed. You just got to make a list and start knocking items off the list, and hopefully you get them all done before the deadline. So you know, the old phrase, you know, how do you eat an elephant? Well, just one bite at a time.
Yeah, because this can't be easy, and because if you're going to be the one-man gang that's got to do the publicity and the rule book and making the phone calls and, you know, it's like you realize there's just 24 hours in a day and you got to sleep at least 2 of those, right?
Yeah, I have a job, too. You know.
And a growing family. Great. When do they get to see Dad again?
Hopefully when the race is over.
Yeah, but now do you go, oh my God, I'm so glad that thing's over. Honey, give me a Pepsi. I want to make sure that next year it goes a little smoother. I got some ideas. Or are you just going to say, look, I don't want to think of any of this heads-up hustle thing. You know, give me to at least October.
No, we're going to be working on it right away. We're going to be having the racers fill out basically a review saying, hey, what did you like? What did you not like? Because like I said at the beginning of the program, we're just me and my friend Thomas and the guys who've come on to help us. We're just racers who were like, why not do this? It sounds like fun. Wish someone else was doing it. Let's do it. So we're not afraid of failure. You know, if it's not like, hopefully we know we're going to provide a good product for the racers, but you know, if it doesn't work out for us, you know, at least we tried. You know, we're not afraid to fail and to try. Hopefully it's something that can continue year to year, or we are planning on doing it again next year. I've actually talked with the tracks a little bit about some date stuff. Nothing's official yet, but it should happen next year as long as nothing crazy happens this year.
You're going to gain a couple more tracks next year in Michigan?
I'm not sure. I think we're going to probably try to keep it a 3-day weekend format still. So as much as I'd like to go to all the tracks in Michigan, I think we still have to stick with 2 tracks just because of the, you know, the nature of doing a 3-day format. There's plenty of opportunities for a 5-day race. I mean, Tom Daly puts on a great 6 Summer, which is, you know, just down in Illinois. And some Midwest Drag, I believe, will be back in the Midwest again next year. And Hot Rod Drag Week sometimes comes through Michigan as well. So yeah, we're just focusing on the 3-day event right now. And, you know, maybe there's an opportunity for a 5-day event down the road. But right now we're hoping to just keep it a 3-day event. And whether we're back at Milan and Lapeer or some other tracks next year, hopefully it'll be a improvement and a different a different product. So we don't want to have the same tracks and the same routes every year. Probably that we want to be able to change it up and see different parts of the beautiful United States that we live in.
Are you going to really? I mean, probably just to follow up on that question. You're thinking about going national?
I'm not planning on it. I don't have any plans for that right now. The market is fairly well saturated with good quality events, and I don't see this being something that goes national. But I'm not ruling that out. But I don't have plans for that.
Are you saying that because your wife may be next to you?
No, no. I just think that the national events are a lot of fun. I've done one, but you've got to take a lot of time off work. There's a lot more wear and tear on your car. We're not talking a couple hundred miles. We're talking, 600 to 1,200 miles, depending on which one you go to. And that's just a lot more money and outlay of expense. And, we want to try to have something that's more attainable and achievable for people who just want to take a day off work and go race for the weekend and have fun with their friends and our family. We actually have, some people that are coming that are friends, and they're going to, drive together and just spend good time together and have fun with a short little event that doesn't hopefully take, too much time away from the rest of their lives.
Yeah, because I think this is just ripe for this because everybody wants to do sick week, but then they start figuring out, okay, how much time can I take off work? How much money is this going to cost me to get through Georgia? How much is this going to? How much is this going to? How much is this going to? Everybody says it's a lot of fun, and I bet you it is. But it's for the everyday guy. It's kind of like a little out of reach. So to have something like this, a 3-day event, is brilliant, I think. Everybody can participate. Anybody that's around this state can participate. Have your first one, do your POC, do your proof of concept. People will see what it's like, and then next year, everybody hops on. But this year, if you want to be hip whatsoever, you want to be part of the very first version of this, so you can do that thing like the people with the Woodward Dream Cruise. I was there first. I remember when no cop, blah, 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 blah. Everybody was always at the 1984 Tigers World Series, like the Tiger Stadium only held like 22,000 at the time. You swear there'd be 100,000 people saw that game. They're live. So you want to go to this thing. In the couple of seconds we got left, John Paul, where can people find out more information on the Facebook, on the Facebook, like some grandpa's saying? Is there anywhere else they can find out more information?
Yes. So the primary resource is the website, which is headsuphustle.com. But there's also a Heads Up Hustle Facebook page and Instagram account. And if you're not going to be able to make it to the event and you want to follow along and see what's going on, we'll have results updated each evening on the website, as well as videos on our YouTube channel, which is not started yet, but we have the YouTube channel there. And I've got some friends that are going to be producing videos throughout the days of this weekend and posting them on our YouTube channel.
Wow. I mean, this is going to be phenomenal. Oh, hey, got a question just came through. And it's prep or no prep?
This is a fully radial prep event. So we are putting on the same prep that Milan Dragway uses for their Friday night heads-up races.
Really?
And the Piers radial prep. So cars can get down the track safely and have hopefully a great experience, not have to worry about low quality prep. We're getting the best prep we can get from Milan and Lapeer.
All right, so people, they're going to be looking for you. You're going to be driving a what?
I am not going to be racing in this event, unfortunately.
What?
I want to spend my time and make sure the race happens and in the best way possible. And my race car is not. We're doing an engine upgrade, and the new engine's not together yet, so there's not an engine to go in it anyway. So.
All right. Well, if you mugged somebody, what car would you be driving?
Oh man, I don't know. If I could drive any car, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Actually, we should ask you.
I would like to have. I would say, I think one of the coolest cars out there would be like an old '57 Chevy with a big blower sticking out the hood and big flicks in the back. That's sort of the thing I think would be cool. But there's so many cool cars, man. I'd love to have a 63 Chevy too. There's so many different things that maybe someday will happen, but right now my little Fox Body Mustang is the only thing I've got that I've raced. So
I was going to say, and somehow I'm hearing a Fox Body at home. Hopefully not a blue or black one, but I mean,
it is blue. But it's still got a Ford motor in it. It's not an LS swap. So I guess there you go.
Chris Holbrook doesn't like you now. Okay, fine. All right. If people want to get swag, where do they find it, John Paul?
They'll come out to the race, and they can buy it in person at either Milan or Lapeer Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And hopefully, shortly after the race, we'll be able to get some merchandise that can be shipped out. That's not happened quite yet, but if they keep an eye on our Facebook page or Instagram and the website, hopefully within the few weeks after the race is over, we will actually have some sort of online store where they can buy merchandise and we can ship it to them. Okay,
and somebody's going to be monitoring the Facebook page in case there's a last-minute question somewhere?
Yes, if you send us messages, either direct messages on Instagram or send us messages on Facebook, that will be monitored, as well as our email, which is under the contact tab on the website.
Awesome. So here it goes. Just get in your car, folks, and if you're not going to race, that's okay. Bring the kids and the family and wake the neighbors, put them in the minivan, and come on by and watch this event. How many times do you get a chance to see an event at its startup? Not many. And from what we hear, and we were kicking this around in the production meeting this morning, this sounds like you hit them where nobody is. Everybody wants to go for the big grand, 1 week, 10-day, 7-day kind of event. Nobody is looking out for the guy who really wants to do this, but whether the wallet isn't as big to do this, so they, get hotel rooms and all that stuff, or their car, or they can't get time off or something. This fits a niche that people were dying to get. As opposed to waiting for a drag week, and it's like, is it going to be our turn or whatever? We think, John Paul, this is just an amazing idea, and whatever, napkin you wrote this stuff down on originally, we're so glad that it's coming to fruition for you, and we're so glad that, there's slightly more room for other cars this year, but you want to go. I mean, Milan, where Milan is, everybody loves it. Where Lapeer is, everybody loves that place too. Just go. All you have to do is get there. Gates open for spectators. What time, John Paul?
I believe we're going to have gates opened at 9 o'clock on both days.
Yeah, and then go for the package that you get, the pit parking and the T-shirt. That sounds more fun. Get involved with this, because how many times you get in, again, from ground level on something that we think is going to be a fantastic annual event. John Paul Franks, thank you so very much for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate your time and having me on the show.
Sure. And thank you for being so flexible with us. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Yep. Bye now. Amazing. John Paul Franks. Folks, this ain't easy. I guarantee you this is not a breeze. If you try to get together, like two other couples to go out to the movies on a Saturday, you know how difficult that can be. Step that up times about 100 with people with race cars, with two different tracks, two different owners, two different everything going on. There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of work. And if this is, 101 for you, this is your very first one you ever did, there's going to be stuff that comes up that, the folks probably didn't even think about, and there it is. But when it's all said and done, you pulled it off. And I think it's a hell of a tip of the hat, to John Paul Franks and his friends who put this on, who said, everybody wants to, but nobody said, hold my beer, let's do this. And the guy takes it on. I mean, the guy's got a young family, I'm sure, or I'd like to probably see dad or dad's undivided attention or something like that. It's not like John Paul's, putting his back to them or anything, but this is difficult to do if you're a professional. If you're doing this for the first time, it's even harder. So this guy deserves, your involvement. At least watch what's going on Facebook. If you can't be there in person, if you're somewhere in Algonac or something, you can't, give them some hits, give them some bounce, give them some encouragement to do this again next year, because year 2 is where you see the biggest growth, and then next year you'll probably see his kids too. Anyways, I'm glad that they were here. Heads Up Hustle this weekend at Milan and Lapeer. Talking about this weekend, how about hitting a bus stop with the Hollies here on the only station that gives a damn about the greatest sport on earth, and that's drag racing. Welcome to CKiW Radio 76.